Hi everyone, welcome back to A Brief Global History with Sources. As we continue our study of milestones of the past century war and revolution, we're going to look at Capitalism Unraveling, the Great Depression. So let's start with the most influential post-war change. It was suggested that Europe's economy was failing. There were worries about industrial capitalism because it had generated individualist materialism, created enormous social inequalities, and its instability caused great anxiety. And then the Great Depression hit in 1929. Contracting stock prices wiped out paper fortunes as many lost their life savings. World trade dropped by 62% within a few years, and businesses contracted. Unemployment soared. It actually reached 30% in Germany and the United States by 1932. Numerous causes. The American economy boomed in the 1920s. By the end of the decade, factories and farms produced more goods than could be sold. Europe was impoverished by World War I and did not purchase many American products. Europe was recovering and produced more of its own goods. And speculative stock market had driven stock prices up artificially high. All right, this is adapted from Lynn Hunt's and others, The Making of the West, Peoples and Cultures. This graph shows the United States, Germany, Great Britain, and their unemployment rates based on a 14-year period, 1925 to 1939. So what were the political consequences of the economic changes illustrated in this graph? The American, British, and German governments began to take an active role in economic life. This included the creation of job programs and the government takeover of the production of goods. Worldwide problem. So countries or colonies dependent on the export of a few products were hit really hard. Tensions in Latin America frequently resulted in military takeovers, interventionist governments, import substitution industrialization, and authoritarian and populist politics. Major challenge to governments. Capitalist governments had thought that the economy would regulate itself. The Soviet Union's economy had grown throughout the 1930s. In response, some states turned to quote-unquote democratic socialism with greater regulation of the economy and more equal distribution of wealth. The New Deal, 1933 to 1942, was policy in the United States. Franklin Roosevelt's administration launched a complex series of reforms. Roosevelt's public spending programs permanently changed the relationship between government, the private economy, and individual citizens. It didn't work out very well. The U.S. economy only improved with massive government spending because of World War II. Nazi Germany and Japan, however, coped the best with the Depression. All right, contrasts of the Great Depression. This 1937 Life magazine image by famed photographer Margaret Bourke White shows African-American victims of a flood in Louisville, Kentucky, standing in a bread line during the Depression, while behind them rises a billboard depicting a happy and prosperous Caucasian family. How did the Great Depression affect the relationship between governments and their citizens? The Great Depression affected people's view of the government in the United States, and that it entrenched the idea that the federal government should support individuals in times of crisis, evidenced here by the bread line. The image also illustrates social realities in the United States. The billboard in the background extols economic prosperity for the Caucasian family, while African Americans wait in the bread line, epitomizing the racial and economic divisions within the United States. And this concludes our study of Capitalism Unraveling, the Great Depression. I'll see you guys next time.